Hi guys!
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back to our channel. I'm Megan,
I'm Dwayne.
and we are the Blended Family Marriage Coaches. That's who we are and what we do. If you're new here, welcome to our channel. We're so excited you're here. So lately, we have really been talking about blending families, not
Right.
blended, but
Right.
in the process of blending families. And we are talking about specific topics and what we think that should be discussed prior to blending. So today we're going to talk about dun 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 money. So stay tuned. We're going to give you some tips and tricks on how to talk about money, how to manage money in your blended families, and what concerns should you bring up prior to blending or in the process of blending. Right. So for the very best advice on your blended family marriage, make sure that you hit the subscribe button down below. It's right over there. If you're familiar with us and have watched any of our other videos, you know that Dwayne and I are switched today, which is fine. Where we probably will be for the next couple of weeks, if not forever. Who knows? We're trying to figure out what our new office is going to look like, where everything's going to go, and where we're going to go when we're talking to you. We talk about everything here on our channel, from money, like today. We talk about intimacy. We talk about boundaries. We talk about divorce. There isn't a subject that we shy away from. If you want to talk about parenting, we'll talk about parenting. Right. We have done that before. So if you want more information on this, don't forget to ring the bell. Ding dong. So that way you don't miss a single episode. So money. You guys, there is so much negativity centered around money. And I don't know what it is. I watched a podcast just today on, it was actually, what's his name's daughter?
Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey's daughter was doing an interview because she just came out with a new book. And she talks about a bunch of different mindsets that we have about money. And it's so true. Mm-hmm. Money can create such tension. In fact, money is one of the number one reasons for divorce. And I don't get it. I don't understand it. That's something that I don't know how to say this. That's something that we've struggled with, for sure. We've struggled with our finances, but at the same time, like, it's not worth fighting over. Right. You know, I'm not saying that money's no concern to us. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying though is that it's not something that we choose to fight over. Right. I want to talk about money though, because we find that so often this is one of those things that mid-collision, because we say we didn't blend, we collided. Yes, and sure. Mid-collision, when you're pulling all the pieces back apart and figuring out how they go back together, money is one of the biggest things that people fight about. Right. And it's something that Dwayne and I brought up last week when we talked about how we wish that we would have discussed more about money, and we didn't. Right. If you want to check out that video about the things that Dwayne and I wish we would have discussed or at least had conversations around prior to blending, I will link that above. Dwayne, it'll be up right up there right now. So check that out after you watch this video. But really, money is such a sensitive topic, and I think that it's even more exaggerated in a blended family, don't you think?
Definitely, yeah.
It is. Yeah. And we'll explain more about that a little bit later, why that is. But there are 3 things that I want you guys to discuss prior to blending, or maybe you're in the process of, okay, we're admitting that we collided, right. And now we need to figure out how to blend. So maybe you're mid-blend, and I want you to have some serious conversations about money. The first one that I want to talk about is, what is your money history? What did it look like in your house growing up? What did it look like with your ex-spouse? What did it look like in the home that you had your children in prior to bringing your children into this marriage? How did money look? Do you have some trauma around money? Do you have some issues around money? Be honest with yourself. Do you have problems spending more than what you make? Do you have problems making so much and just spinning your wheels because you feel like there's never enough? Be honest with yourself and be honest with your spouse, because it's never going to improve unless you can be honest with each other, if that makes sense. That's so important, to be able to acknowledge what kind of issues you brought in or are bringing into this blended family. And I'm not saying that you have to address them all, but just being aware of them for yourself, as well as making your spouse aware of them. That is so important. And when Dwayne and I got married, I'm just going to be real with you. I don't pay bills. I don't. I forget. And even if the money's in the bank account, I am horrible at being responsible for making sure that those day-to-day things happen. Right. And Dwayne is very responsible in that way. Our kids have even learned, like, hey, can you send me some cash for this? They know. I am not the person to ask those kind of things. Dwayne is the one that's more responsible in that way. And I think that if we were able to establish that prior to getting married, or even just really early on, be honest with each other, Dwayne, I that's all your responsibility, and I trust you, and I have no questions. I don't care if you want to talk to me about a budget or about whatever. I will listen, but I am not the one that's responsible for that. So if you want to be, I will support you, and I thank you and appreciate that you are, because you're picking up where I lack for sure in that way. So would you agree that if we were able to verbalize those conversations and admit like what my shortcomings were and where you really want to take control of, if we were able to have those conversations in the very beginning of our marriage, would you agree that that would have saved a lot of strife and heartache?
Yeah, I think it really would have. We didn't have those conversations, and I definitely think that those type of conversations are really kind of hard to have. You don't want to have those conversations.
Right.
And so I think in the beginning, if we would have had those conversations, okay, like, what did the finances look like who's going to be the money manager, I think.
And speaking of Dave Ramsey, he does recommend that the person that is the most responsible should be responsible for
Right.
it. And I can admit that in myself now. We're 11 years into this blend, and I can admit that now. But I think back then I would have been like, oh no, I am the most responsible person ever. But quickly he realized, and I think that it would have saved a lot of frustration, because his expectations of me would have been nil, because he understands my level of responsibility for money. And I make a joke out of it. I mean, it is kind of humorous, but the fact is that Dwayne is definitely more responsible and fiscally responsible when it comes to things like that. So I think that would have saved a lot of strife and heartache, and false expectations of each other. I just kind of assumed that he would do it because I don't. And that's not fair either. So that's the first one. Have the conversation about those kind of things before you blend, or do it now when you are trying to figure out how to blend.
I agree.
Absolutely have those kind of conversations. Mm-hmm. The second one is, I want you guys to be honest about a budget. And this is so hard.
It is hard.
We fail at it still. I mean, we're still not the best at figuring things like this out. But be real and be honest about a budget within your means and within your family, and decide what your goals are.
Right. Decide
financially what is the most important priority. Mm-hmm. Decide ahead of time, before having to have those hard conversations, that this is what's important and this is what is not so important, and this is what we can let slide, and this is something that we really need to work towards, because that will help you guys set up for the future when those questions come around. We talk all the time about decision fatigue, and that's very real, and this will help eliminate some of those decisions. Right. Does that make sense?
It does. I really think that having a budget is so important, and having those discussions for you to set that right mindset, so that there's no, well, I thought that we were going to do this. No, you really need to have those conversations. There are so many resources out there. We've already mentioned Dave Ramsey. I think he is, from what I've heard, he's kind of the guru when it comes to budgeting.
Even just free resources, like look up an internet budget, like on the internet, just, budget, something like that, to be able to budget for yourselves. Right. And we're preaching to the choir here. This is not something that we have absolutely aced and mastered.
Right. No.
So just know that this is a process. It's always changing. It's always evolving. And as your lifestyle changes, and as your marriage goes through seasons, and we've talked about marriage seasons, and if you're curious about that, I'll link the video to marriage seasons that we did in the description box below. But your marriage goes through so many different seasons, and with that, your budget's going to change. I mean, it's just going to naturally. Right. So those are things to know, that it's going to change. Right. But just starting with something strong and solid that you guys can stick to, and know that you can stick to it, is a great way. So the first one is, discuss any issues from your past with money. Anything that you're insecure about, anything that you're not super good at, discuss those. Bring them to the table and be honest and real about it. The second one is, create a budget.
Right.
Just figure out how much money you have coming in.
Right.
And where it's at and where it's going. At least just figure that out, because it's so important to know that.
Right.
And then the third tip that I have, but don't leave because I have a bonus kind of thing that I want to talk about. The third tip that I have is to always within your budget to discuss the boundaries around money. This one's hard because I don't know. I can't tell you what that magic number is. Is it $50 that you can spend that you don't have to discuss it with your spouse? Is it a $75 limit that you're like, okay, I know that I'm within my own freedom to be able to make this decision that I can afford $75 here? Or honestly, is it to a point where you guys are saving towards a goal or you're kind of struggling right now financially and every dime needs to be discussed prior to making that financial decision? It's so important to set strong boundaries around that because one person might think that it's $75 and the other person is in that position like Dwayne where he's the one that manages the money. He knows the reality is that if I spend $10 and I don't tell him that, there's going to be issues in our checkbook. And I'm just using that as an example. I'm not saying that's true.
But I think it's so true because if that isn't communicated when it to and you don't have like a spending limit or you don't know, let's say that you're on a schedule where every 2 weeks, there's money coming in, paychecks, from both of you or one of you, whatever it is. If you know, okay, if discussion is made and you're like, okay, like my limit is $50 a week or, whatever it is, and you go way above that, then that's going to mess up, the budget and it's going to cause friction. Or if the budget is really, really tight, money is tight and you go out and you think that I can spend, like Megan said, $10 or $20 or whatever. Well, maybe that $20 that you spent might be the thing that's going to,
pay the car insurance
the car insurance or whatever it is. So having those boundaries around money is so very important. And having those discussions, yes, it's going to be difficult. Yes, we don't want to sound prudish. Some people may look and say, "Oh my goodness, like I can't believe that you're that strict." But if, like Megan said, if you're saving something for the future, if you have a great big goal, or if money really is that tight, especially with COVID going on, money for a lot of families is really tight, and that $10 might have been what he was planning on, put gas in the car so that you can get to work or whatever. So
and Dwayne says he because that's the reality of our marriage. We know that in different situations the woman is the keeper of the checkbook and knows what's coming and going in all areas. But whoever it is, often they're the ones that feel frustrated when the budget is not met because somebody is overspending. Well, if you can have that conversation ahead of time, look, you have a $50 spending limit. And if you spend more than $50, let's just discuss it. The answer is not no, but let's just discuss it. Again, that all goes back to expectations. Then you have an expectation set on yourself, on your spouse, and it has to be mutual. Just because Dwayne is the keeper of the checkbook doesn't give him free reign to spend money on whatever he wants because he knows we can afford it. That has to be a conversation that he has with me too, whatever the amount is. If it's $5 or $50 or $75, those conversations have to happen. Otherwise, that's just more room for friction. So those are the 3 tips that we have. The first one was make sure that you talk about your past and any issues that you have or have had or what your strengths are and how you feel money needs to be managed. The second one was set a budget, at least the bare minimum of what's coming in and what's going out. Just be aware of that. And then third one is discuss what your boundary is as far as a spending limit without discussing with each other. And then I want to talk about blended family money. Can we talk about blended family money?
I was wondering if
we are the blended family marriage coaches after all. So let's talk about this. Oh, you guys, there are so many questions. There are so many conversations. It is heartbreaking to me how much money can destroy a blended family. It just is. And so I go back to the stereotype of yours, mine, and ours. That's how we're described as blended families, right? Dwayne and I don't have an ours unless you include our fur babies, which we always do. So we do have ours. They are our 2 dogs, but we don't have any children together. So when we came together, it was yours and mine. And honestly, in the beginning, that's how we fought. That's how our marriage was. That was everything about it was yours and mine. You versus me. My kids, your kids. And I am not saying his kids are equivalent to my kids, or love your kids or stepkids the same way. I'm not going to go there on this video. If you have any questions about that, we do hold tight. We're going to talk about step parent expectations in the coming videos. What I'm saying is everything by definition in a blended family is separate, because you're talking about yours and mine.
Right.
You always talk about yours and mine. And what's unique about a blended family, unlike traditional marriages, normally in a blended family, you're bringing a lot of stuff with you too.
Mm-hmm.
In a traditional marriage, you might get what you get at your wedding,
Right.
like, and that's what you have, and
Right.
it's all yours because they were wedding gifts. But when Dwayne and I got married, he had a full set of kitchenware, all of the pots, pans, dishes, everything that you can imagine, and so did I.
Right.
He had a bedroom set, and so did I. His kids had all of the bedding and beds and everything and toys and and clothes and all of that, and so did I. So did mine. So we had yours and mine.
Right.
And it was very easy to determine that. And even our verbiage in that, like, I want my dresser in this corner, or get me my frying pan because that's my favorite. Those kind of things are so easy, and it's so easy to keep them separate. Where in a traditional marriage, what you bring in usually is just whatever you got as wedding gifts, or, maybe from the bachelor pad, not from having this full life with kids and all of everything else that you're bringing into this marriage. Enter money. You're bringing your money into this marriage as well, and you hold on so tight to it because it's yours. And the more that you guys can separate from yours and mine, the easier it is to separate physically. The easier it is to say, you know what, I'm done. This is so not worth it. I am walking away. I'm taking my kitchenware. I'm taking my bedroom set. I'm taking my kids and their bedroom and all their toys. And I'm taking my checking account and my banking account and all of my income, and I'm walking away.
Right.
That is dangerous ground to be on. If you're serious about your blend, if you guys are seriously committed in your marriage, which if you're not, please reach out. We would love to help you make that commitment and recommit to each other. You have to blend your finances. I said it. Please take the axe and the daggers and everything out of my bag, because I get so much heat for this. But statistic time after time after time shows that couples with separate bank accounts are going to separate. It's just statistically true. If your finances are not combined, then really it's so easy to walk away. Right now, after 11 years of blending our marriage, we haven't been married for 11 years now yet. Today actually is our anniversary of the day that Dwayne asked me to marry him. So 11 years of being engaged, and almost 11 years. We were only engaged for like a minute. So almost 11 years of being married. I don't know what's mine anymore. I mean, obviously my clothes. I have my side of the bed. That's about all that's mine in our relationship, because everything is ours. But in the very beginning, one of the things that we did in the very beginning is we combined our finances. And that's vital. So when people talk about what does my kids' child support go to? Well, it goes to your home. It goes to the expenses of your house. Decide a budget and stick to the budget. Figure out what's coming in and what you have going out, and included in that is any child support that you have coming in or going out in your blended family. That's part of your budget. That's what you married. You married somebody that's either paying child support or receiving child support. I'm not saying that that's a given, but that's the truth, that oftentimes in a blended family, you're either paying or receiving or both, like we were at one point in our marriage. And it's just the facts. It's just something that it's like another bill that you guys have to pay. And I hate to say that, because I'm not saying that supporting your children isn't important, but it is very important. But it's also important for your children to see a stable, strong household, and using that child support as part of that budget to build that stable, strong household is not taking from your children. Decide in your budget how much goes towards clothes for the kids. How much is your weekly grocery budget? How much does Joe's soccer practice cost, or Joe's travel league, or Cindy's cheer, or whatever you have to pay for? Decide that in your budget and decide whether or not you can afford it, including the child support. I get so much slack for this, but it's so important. Your child support is considered part of the budget for your family. coming or going, coming in or going out. It's either an expense or an income.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it is. That's all.
Right.
That's all it is. Yes, that should go towards providing a stable home for your child. Yes, that should go towards making sure that your child sees what a strong, stable family is. And the fact is that your child needs to see his parents budgeting. Your child needs to hear, no, I'm sorry, right now that's really not in the budget. And don't tell them that you can't afford it. Tell them it's not part of our budget right now to go through the McDonald's drive-thru 3 days a week.
Right.
That's appropriate to say.
Right.
So I know that I get so much slack for that. I know that that's a hard thing to do because you think it's the child support to support your children. He can't have it. She can't have it. I need to put it towards the kids. But the best thing that you can give your kids is a stable home,
Mm-hmm.
a strong example of what marriage looks like,
Right.
and that includes a healthy budget. So there you have it. You have permission from the Blended Family Marriage Coaches to blend your money.
Right.
Put it together. If there are trust issues, if there's questions, if there's anything like that, work through those. Don't avoid them
Right.
by holding your accounts separate. Don't do that. Work through those issues. So that's all. Those are our tips and tricks in blending your blended family finances. Easy for me to say. If you guys like this video, please don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to our channel because we love our subscribers. Ring the bell
Ding dong.
so that way you don't miss a single episode. If you guys want to find us at all on all of our social medias, we'll put all of those in the description box below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned until next week because we're going to talk more about what to discuss while blending your family. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.